As a society, we tend to sideline disability and not think about it at all. And the disabled portion of the population is a portion of the population that anyone can join at any time. So really it's important because we need to start challenging the perceptions that we don't even realize that we hold.
The piece follows a family, a single mom and 2 daughters, and one of the daughters has cerebral palsy. And she's in a wheelchair, so it deals with notions of access as well. For me, it is about these 2 daughters trying to gain their independence.
I was actually crying throughout the show. I really thought it was moving because it really mirrored what I and my family went through after my diagnosis. I saw a lot of myself in the young girl and the young lead, and that was really, really refreshing for onstage productions. I have spinal muscular atrophy type 3, which belongs to the big group of diseases known as muscular dystrophy, a degeneration of all the muscles.
Because it's always been about Kath and you. Please, don't play that card with me. You're too old and I am too tired.
I do think people make assumptions about people with disabilities, that these bodies, just because they are different or may look different from ours, that these bodies are fragile and that these bodies aren't able or capable of doing a lot of things, or being physical in that sense, or that these bodies are completely desexualized. By highlighting difference, you can really make people see it and make people sit up and notice things that they haven't noticed before. And you can also then celebrate that difference and say, my body may be different, but these are the wonderful things that come along with this difference. Whereas normalizing difference is also important and saying, yeah, I'm different, but I'm also the same in these ways. So both approaches have value, I think, and it depends on what your particular objective or impetus is with a particular piece.
I do think it's problematic for able-bodied performers to perform stories that could have easily been performed by somebody with a disability. Danieyella gets off stage and she gets to live happily ever after. And so I don't know how I feel about that. The responsibility is for the National Arts Festival to try and get people living with disabilities to tell their own stories, as opposed to able-bodied performers being given the spotlight to tell or engage on disability, even though they have no personal experience of it. I think the audience has a tendency to look at the theatre program and see somebody in a wheelchair and think, oh, not a story about disability again. Shame, I feel bad for them, but I'm really not going to sit through a theatre production. And so I think as much as we do need to have more performers on stage with disabilities, I don't think the audience is ready for that. I think we have to keep in mind what kind of audience we have and who the audience is going to listen to. Able-bodied people listen to other able-bodied people about disability more than they listen to those actually living with it.
It's hard to be anything if you're ignored, if you're invisible.
We met with Kaylee, who is the founder of the Kaylee campaign, and her mom, Zelda. And the story is based on their experience as a family and their own story. I think we're becoming more and more aware of notions of representation, whose stories are we allowed to tell. You can't just tell somebody else's story if you're in a particular position of power that person doesn't have access to. However, Jared, the writer, did extensive research with the family, and he's very, very close to the family. And Danny, Rodin, who plays the main character who is disabled, is very, very close to the family and works for the Kaylee campaign as well.
I think it is very, very important with productions such as In the Wings to have a think fest afterwards, because it's an hour production, it has an impact on people and then they forget about it. It'd be great to have the audience engage on what they learned, particularly able-bodied people, and what did you take away from the production, and how has it made you think or critique the way in which you have treated or looked at people living with disabilities, and going forward, what does that mean for you? For me, that's more important than putting on the production, is What do you do after the production has ended? Are you constantly in critique of yourself and the microaggressions of your ableism and the subtle ways in which it manifests? That for me, I think, is an important conversation. Otherwise, there's no point in anybody putting on these productions.